boys don't cry. That makes me furious.
I'm not known to punch other children much, but it does happen sometimes. It's like you have some sincere worry about your day, and then you walk in and there's a child who's like, I'm an aeroplane today, and you're like, okay, let's go. And this is suddenly it's just everything is better.
We all have got flaws in our culture. Let's not get defensive about it. Let's learn from each other.
So true.
What's the core? Why it matters is children. What matters is children.
Hello! We're back, Julia. Season 2.
Welcome back. Welcome back to season 2.
It's nice, isn't it? Because basically what happened is I went on holiday, but it is allowing us to do this whole season 2. We've been recommissioned. The powers that be want us back again. You know?
Well, Matt has been sunning himself on an island in Finland. Mikkel just
nice.
walked out and turned the lights off. I've been here since the end of the last episode.
Oh, you've just been here?
Yeah, just here. Just in the
Well, good
studio.
practice.
No,
Just talking to camera, getting prepared with those questions.
Yeah, absolutely. This means I am unbelievably ready, though, for our next guest.
It's great, isn't it? Nazish Usman, we cannot wait to meet with her. She's a child psychologist and a early years principal, and she's currently leading safeguarding. She's just done so much stuff in early years, and we're going to talk all about emotional intelligence, and it's going to be great.
Doctor Naz, I think you're fine.
Recently, doctor.
Yeah, just finished her
Should we go
PhD.
on
Amazing.
that
So
far?
she is unbelievably qualified. I cannot wait.
Nice. Should we get going?
Oh, I think we should, shouldn't we?
Let's go.
Matt, would you introduce our guest, please?
Julia, I would absolutely love to. So recently, Julia, Mikkel and I actually met Naz for the first time as we visited Hopes and Dreams, Seth Montessori Nursery School in London, to film a little video about family. And we had such a great time that we just thought this is a person we need to get on the podcast. At the time, Naz was the principal of Hopes and Dreams, and now she's actually stepped into a new role as this kind of head of as the head of safeguarding at the kind of wider group where Hopes and Dreams is a part of, which is really exciting, and I'm sure it's something we're going to dig into. Naz is a qualified early years teacher who's taught all over the world. She can speak 4 languages, which is 3 more languages, arguably 4 more languages than I can speak. And as Julia mentioned, she's a child psychologist with a specialism in cognitive behavioural therapy and has just completed her PhD in emotional intelligence in character building during early childhood education. So first of all, Naz, congratulations on completing your PhD and welcome.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for having me. Super excited, and literally it's a privilege talking about something that's very close to my heart.
Amazing. We can't wait to dig into it. But 4 languages. What 4 languages is it that you speak, Naz?
So I speak Arabic, Urdu, Punjabi, and English. So English, as when we met, I told you English is not even my first. Second language is my 4th language that I've learned.
God, dear.
You're doing much better in your 4th language than I think I can do in my first.
Yeah,
sometimes,
incredible,
to be honest.
incredible.
How many have you got, Julia?
1.5 maybe.
No.
Well,
I think you're a 2. I think we can call Danish a 2.
maybe Danish. Yeah. I wouldn't say completely fluent. I've also got GCSE French though.
Do
so,
you? Well,
yeah.
don't we all? Doesn't mean anything, though, does it?
J'aime la baguette, etc.
Pamplemousse.
Yeah.
All right, quick warm-up, Julia.
Yes. So usually we start the podcast with an early years ick, but this is the start of season 2 and we want to start on a positive note. So I would love to hear if there was something, either a resource or a procedure, maybe even a person who you would love to see in every early years setting in the UK. What would it be? So rather than an ick, we'll have an early years pick.
Nice.
It's a tricky question because I have got many. If it's to do with people, there are many inspiring individuals. I think based on my recent interactions, I would say, can I take couple?
Go on then.
Go on.
You can have 2.
Thank you, Matt. Very generous. So
Julia was going to say no, wasn't she? She's much
Absolutely
harsher
not.
than me. I'm going to let you have 2.
Julia's 5 books. She's like, no. I would say Alice Shaw and Alison Featherby. If we have these 3 practitioners in each of the setting, there's no doubt that each setting would be outstanding plus, I would say.
Oh, love that. And 2 early Tiny Chair podcast
Yeah,
guests.
friends of the podcast.
Friends of the pod. Love it.
Lovely.
Love it. Right, then let's move on to our quickfire round. So starting off easy, Naz, what would you say makes a good day for you? What's a great day in your life?
A day which is surrounded by children.
Yeah.
A day where I'm interacting with children and listening to them. That's a great day for me.
I love that. Less paperwork, more just less of the difficult stuff, just spending time with the children.
Absolutely. And it's all about children, right? Children needs to be at the heart of everything we are doing, and that makes a great day. I feel we all carry the baggage when we are going into our work life, every day when we are leaving the house and wherever we live, wherever we are, and we leave that, we are having that baggage on our shoulder as soon as you step in. I think the children, they just literally reverse the day for you. They bring the joy, they bring the smile, and it's such a sincerity in their approach towards you that you forget everything. And I think for me, children, it's they make everything great for you, whether that be the day, whether that be the mood, whether that be that moment. It's them.
It's so
What a
true,
start.
isn't
So
it?
true.
It is true. I love that.
It's like you have some sincere worry about your day, and then you walk in and there's a child who's like, I'm an aeroplane today. And you're like, okay, let's go. And this is suddenly it's just everything is better.
Absolutely.
It's true. So you've had a fairly global career, as we alluded to in the introduction there. Where's the favourite place that you've taught?
Oh, it's a hard one because I've learned over the years, so it would be hard to compare one.
Mm.
So I started as a child psychologist. So when we moved to Kenya and I stepped into early years, it's just because my son started his kindergarten there. So looking at their way of teaching to then moving to Canada, doing my forest school from Canada, it was very different. To then going to Germany and working in a Steiner setting was completely different. But if I have to pick one thing, learning wise, I would say Germany.
Okay, interesting.
Ah.
Nice. Why was that?
Oh, go on. Oh,
Is
I
that
was
what
going to
you
ask the
were
same
gonna
thing.
Okay. Why was that?
I believe my perspective towards interaction, my perspective towards genuine early education, my perspective into what really emotional intelligence is or emotional literacy is. And I'm talking about, I mean, I'm going to feel really old now, but I'm talking about 16 years back. And I started my journey with all of this from there. And there is something about their teaching, whether I've seen my own son starting his kindergarten in Germany, the patience, the resilience, and the empathy that my son learned there, it has just carried on, and he is 15 now. So
Wow.
it amazes
Amazing.
me that how they're learning towards, like, the teachers teaching towards the children, and the children learning was lifelong learning. And I learned that from Germany, where whilst I was working in the Steiner setting, and the teachers training program for them was very different, and we'll go more into detail why my paradox around teacher training and early education changed. So it would be, and it should be, Germany Steiner setting.
Interesting. And I really like, it's funny you mentioned that about the patients. I think specifically, I remember we have some friends of the pod as well, the Richardsons from Naturally Learning.
Mm-hmm.
They come out and visit our offices and then some nurseries here. And one of the things in Denmark they said that they find is really different is that sort of pace of the setting is a little slower. It's a little more patient. There's time for things. And I think sometimes in the UK, we get a little caught up with that. Like, we need to get through the learning quickly. We need to get through the activities. We need to get to the next step rather than just taking the time to deal with whatever's going on in that moment.
Agreed, Matt. Agreed. And the difference, if I can give a very personal example, and we can compare it with the two. So when my son started, he's the younger one. He's 15 now, and the younger ones are the babies of the house. Unfortunately, I was the youngest one in my family, so I understand that feeling. So I used to do everything for him. So he's going to the kindergarten because we were part of the bigger organization. So genuinely in Germany, as I think it's in Danish society as well, children won't start until they're 4, 5. But because, as I said, we were part of a big organization, so there was an element of children to start at 3, not before that. And when my son started at 3, he didn't know how to put his shoes on. He didn't know anything. So the first day into the kindergarten, the German teacher was there, really nicely welcoming children. And my first time seeing indoor-outdoor shoe policy in Germany. And I'm talking about 16 years ago. So the children were expected to wear slippers inside, hygiene, all standards, brilliant. My son went in. I am like a conscious mom, even though being a psychologist myself, but everything goes out of the window when it's about your own children.
Of course. I've heard that, yeah.
Thinking, oh my God, my son's gone in and what's going to happen? He only knew how to hold an iPad. Guilty. But then he's going in. right? He spent 3 hours. I'm just standing outside, knowing inside that my child is not able to do many things. He would be depending on the teacher. Language was another thing, no problem.
Yeah,
Teachers were
wow.
really nice. What I really gauged in was, imagine that there's a glass door and I'm standing behind the glass door. I can see my son coming with the teacher. They sat on the bench, and that was the time when my son needed to change slippers, and wear the outdoor shoe.
Into the shoes, yeah.
My son, he had the Velcro, like the straps on, but my son was asking the teacher to help. And that was the journey for me when it started. It's all about patience. So the teacher didn't help my child put the shoes on. She had her resource ready, which was her shoes with Velcro, and she had the laces, if the child coming with laces. So she took her shoes out with Velcro. She was role modeling. And in that moment, she was not, it was about co-regulation, which we are just going to talk about more. It wasn't about depend on me. It was about co-regulation. But the patience she had and the way she modeled her own emotions to the child sitting next to her, very content, very happy, try and try and try again. And I can tell you categorically, it took them 27 minutes. It's still in my memory. The teacher didn't give up. But what it did, like as I said, and the teacher never helped my child put the shoes on. It was my son learning it from her, doing it over and over again. The patience, the pace. She was going with my son's pace, the learning that my son was having, the pace of that learning. But literally, Matt and Julia, what it did, my son came out to that day to now, he has never asked for help again. Socks and shoes,
Wow.
there you go. That's it. And he felt
Amazing.
so proud. He came out and he was like, Mama, I did it. Mama, I did it. Like, look, I'm doing it. And next time, even if we were getting late, as we are the parents, like, come on, I help you put the shoes on. He said, stop. I'll do it. Stop. I'll do it.
That moment where they learn to do it themselves and they're like, you ain't helping me out ever again. I've got this. It's such a cute moment. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm ready to take over the world, Mom. But it's that moment that changed my thinking, my perspective about the pace of the learning, about what actual co-regulation looks like, what actually empathy looks like, what actually regulating my own emotions and the children emotion. And unfortunately, you touched base UK system, and there's a failing there. There is the pressure of the paperwork, and we need to do this activity and plan the activity. There's still, if you look at it from Ofsted point of view, they don't want you to do any documentation. There's literally 3 requirements in terms of documentation. But still, we are so much into long-term plan and short-term plan and planning in the moment, and it all needs to be up on the board. Children don't care what's written on the planning. They literally want you to interact with them. And that's the failing at the minute in our system, the interactions, the sustained shared thinking element. That's gone.
Totally agree.
I'm reflecting so much, back when I was working in settings and there was unbelievably even more paperwork to do constantly. And it was heartbreaking when you were having such a great interaction with a child and you're thinking about things together and how are we going to solve this problem, and then it's like, oh, but I haven't done the observations this morning yet, so I'm going to have to cut it short. And like, it should never be like that.
The time to have 27 minutes to help a child with shoes, I think is just endemic of like a wider success of the way that setting was set up, right? That there was that time there in the first place. Should we have another one, Julia?
Yeah, go on. What is the funniest thing a child's ever said to you?
It's actually quite funny, and it's in front of an Ofsted inspector. So we were reading the Hungry Caterpillar book, and reading a Hungry Caterpillar book, going into in my moment, in my element, we reached the point where it says, and the caterpillar was fat. And then I'm reading that, I stopped, and I'm just, again, part of the teaching is you normalize that. There is no shame, no kind of, the fat. And so we just stopped at that minute and we said, and then, the caterpillar became fat, and fat is okay. You can be fat, you can be small, you can be thin. And then the child just pointed at me and he said, but you're medium fat, Miss Usman. I was like, great. And that's in front of an Ofsted inspector. I'm like, yay.
You've talked about this before, haven't you, Julia? That it's like any inadequacies or anything you're feeling about yourself, a child will pick up on them and immediately.
As in good thing, bad thing, whatever. Because as Naz was saying, these things are relatively neutral to children, so they'll just point it out, like, oh, why is your face red? And it's because you've got a massive spot or something, and you're just like, oh, well, these things happen. But there's no. Yeah,
it's us who've put the kind
filter.
of things on top of them. No clutter. I love that.
It was so funny because the Ofsted inspector later on, when she was giving the leadership feedback, she said, "You handled it really, really gracefully." I was like, there was no option.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I am medium fat, and since then my children always says, "Mama, you're medium fat, or you're full fat, or you're half medium."
So cute.
So funny. All right, last one before we get on to the main topic. I want to know, Naz, when was the last time you changed your mind about something in terms of pedagogy or early years practice, where you used to think one way and now you've done a big U-turn and you're thinking the exact opposite?
There are many that I'm challenging right now, but I would say the vocabulary whilst we are interacting with the children. And I've changed my mindset, and it was part of my implementation project recently in my own settings as well. And a brief example, and we'll talk more in detail, is turn taking or sharing and having that clarity. And I've changed my mind on that. Golden rules, challenging that, what actually it means to the child. Again, going back to my start, my brain works very differently. It's about the why. But yeah, turn taking and sharing, it's a ick for me if we go back to before the pick.
Amazing. I had a question about that later, but seeing as how we're talking about it, I think we should dig in now, shouldn't we?
Yeah, go on.
Can you tell me a little bit about that journey of that asking children to share, and how you've changed your mind about what's right and what's wrong in that instance?
It's very recently as well, so let's say January, and we are so and again, when I say something, it's not about I am saying that's right or that's wrong. It's my own experience, my own journey. So as part of the new role, you're going around the settings, and we have all learned. Again, English is not my first language, so I've acquired some of the things from the system. So we're all in a habit of saying sharing is caring, share. Perfectly normal morning, stepping into the setting, going into the classroom to preschoolers. Preschoolers are magical creatures. They tell you exactly how things are. So they are playing with the toy car. Instantly, as soon as I stepped into the room, and the ones who just comes to you and be like, Miss Esmond, the ABC is not sharing with me. And then I replied back, as we were talking earlier, because of the time constraint, and it's like, okay, I need to spend 20 minutes here and 20 there. So okay, go back and ask your friend to share with you. The child literally froze in that moment, looking at my face and saying, does not make any sense. I have got one car and you're asking me to share. Share how? I didn't explain how. It was simply go and share. The look on that child's face, even though, as I said, because of the time, I had to step out, but that look stayed with me. And when I went back and I looked more into it, what was that thing that made that child, or what was the take from me that made the child froze in that moment, looking at me all confused, mainly looking to say, give me more clarity on what do you want me to do, how to share. And that changed my mindset, because I'm quite reflective, and when I'm all the thinking, the high functioning thinking comes in when you are alone, and you're laying down and doing your catharsis, what happened during the day, and how can I move forward. And in that moment, that look didn't go away. And I think more and more about it. And I was like, what was it? And I came to the conclusion while I read more and I looked into more. And then I went back into other settings, observing and hearing all the interactions and the vocabulary used around the play and children's interaction. And definitely when it comes to behavior management and the conflict resolution, the word sharing came up more and more and more. The root cause of conflict and the root cause of the children not getting on with each other and having those kind of big emotions inside them that they were not able to express. Because then when you're saying, but I don't want to share, and then here comes another statement from the teacher, right? Okay, leave this here, go and find something else to play with. What is that else? First, you start with sharing. So I think my mindset then, after observation, gathering the evidence, getting the facts, and looking at those escalation of behaviors and all those conflicts, and just the vocabulary, Matt and Julia, just the vocabulary. So I did a little implementation project where we went on for 6 weeks and we just said, instead of just saying sharing, look at the objects. So are they divisible? Are they non-divisible? So for example, car cannot be shared. So why can't we just turn it around? Simple thing, turn taking. Apple can be shared. Like, you can have slices of apple. I'm going to share the apple between 4 of you, and each one of you will have the slice. Perfect. No kind of conflict. Just switching that mindset in practitioners, switching the mindset in our workforce, that really helped. And I could see that the children were more regulated. We started off with one cohort and then it's carrying on now. And there are many other elements, but as simple as this, just the mindset of the practitioners. When you're there, be present. Give them, like, we're not asking them to give them solution, but give them the space to reflect and find those solutions together. That was a magical moment.
Do you know, it reminds me, so Matt and I have been fortunate enough to visit the family settings in the UK several times. And a previous time we visited Randolph Beresford Early Years Centre with Michelle Barrett, she's the head teacher. And she said that it's a very similar sort of sentiment. So one of the things that she does, or did maybe occasionally, she'd go into a room, teacher or an educator would be using a pen to write something. And she would take the pen and go, it's my turn now, that's mine. You're sharing with me, it's my turn now. And obviously the educators would be thinking, what are you doing? But it was a perfectly good lesson in why you can't just demand a child stops what they're doing in the middle of using a resource and gives it to a friend. Because, we, like you said, we focus on this idea of like, you have to share. But that's not always going to work. You can't both use the pen at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
and I loved on your LinkedIn post about this, Naz, I loved your reflections of the child's voice, of the child coming to you quietly and saying, but I wasn't finished with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. And that's heartbreaking, isn't it? Almost to think about, I made and I think it's so much about not working always with the child who wants a go, but working with the child who's currently using it and helping to understand where they're at in their journey with that resource or whatever else.
But I think also to take it a step further, it is an example of where we hold children to higher account than we hold ourselves. Because I don't share stuff with Matt.
Yeah, Michael never lets me use his camera.
Like
I know.
We don't operate like that as adults a lot of the time. And obviously, there are instances we share things, but the majority of the time as an adult, if you've chosen to do something and you do it and you get to finish it, and you don't expect someone to come up halfway through and hand it over. So it's really interesting. I love that. There's so much reflection there, I think.
And it's interesting, just piggybacking on your comment, Julia, the book from Dr. Daniel Sager, it's about the whole brain child. And he talks about that actually in in the chapter that says name it to tame it, telling the stories to actually name the big emotions. And in there, they're talking about it very specifically from a parent point of view when you have the siblings, and from the practitioner's point of view, the educators when you are in the setting. It's about giving the reason behind why you have to take turn and why you have to share. If we are just coming in and repeating what we have acquired from our seniors, or when we were during our induction period, sharing is caring and take the turn taking and it's your turn, my turn, without explaining, you have got one red pen and one blue pen. You're going to take turns, so both of you will have a red pen and a blue pen turn. If we are not doing it and we are following just one liner, my turn, your turn, share, and sharing is caring, and all of this, it brings the emotion, which is negative emotions in children, and they do not then know how to funnel it out. There are no tools and are not enough resources for the child then to say, well, we have heard it from the children, well, I hate you because you have taken my dinosaur, that was my dinosaur. And actually then the teachers are stepping in and saying, well, we don't use this word in our nursery, we don't say you hate, we are all friends. And again, we are doing more harm than any good. So very interestingly, when they're talking about how to manage those hard emotions, and we can easily do that by giving the reason, and it takes literally less than a minute to tell a child, actually, we need to start from ourselves, believing that the children understand what we are saying, because sometimes we brush it off by saying, how does a 3-year-old know? They know more than us. They absolutely do know more than us.
Absolutely.
But I think also we neglect so much to recognize that children have really strong sense of justice and injustice and fairness, and us just totally ignoring that means that we're not recognizing what those underlying feelings are. Like you said, the example there, I hate you because you took my dinosaur. That's an expression of a child being like, well, I've had an injustice done to me here because I was playing with that and now you've taken it away. And yeah, if we're sort of denying them the vocabulary to deal with it and the reasoning, I think
I'm going to be thinking a lot about that phrase of like, what is it that we expect of our children that we sometimes don't expect of ourselves? I think that's I think there's probably so many things that come into that camp in a weird way.
100%. As a parent as well, my goodness. Like,
Absolutely.
there's so many examples where you'll feel frustrated with your child because they're having a perfectly human reaction to a situation. Like the example with rushing and get your shoes on, get out the door because we've got to get the bus and we're going to miss it. And you're bombarding this poor child with instructions and pressure, and the child's getting stressed out and starts getting upset and having a tantrum, and then you're thinking, oh God, now this.
Yeah.
But you're expecting as a parent, I'm expecting as a parent, my 6-year-old to respond to all of this overwhelm and instructions and pressure positively. Like, come on.
Very true.
And in that moment, we just need to realize from a psychologist's point of view, I always remind myself, it's not my children's job to respond to my big emotions. They're not the peacekeepers. They're not the fixers. And that's where the focus of my research came into place. Like, when we are talking about emotions, and it's not a new term, emotional intelligence and emotional regulation or co-regulation, these are not new terms, but we are saying it, but we are not acting on it. And it starts, we expect the children, we expect to regulate the emotions of the children to make them sensible and responsible citizens, but we are not completing the cycle. And no one's questioning that. Actually, it starts with the adults that we are recruiting to come in to support the children. And there isn't an academy, there isn't a learning hub that's teaching the educators, the teachers to deal with those emotions in the classroom. And that's another gap in our teacher training program in UK. And I would touch base that. I wanted to come to it later, but I will just talk about it now. So my own research, and I've been in networking with teachers in New Zealand and teachers in Australia, and mainly New Zealand because I was looking at EYFS and Tapariki curriculum, which is very much close to their indigenous society and their culture. It's rooted in there. Their teacher training program, when they complete it, they go through 6 months of emotion coaching. The teachers go through with a emotion coach. Why?
Wow.
Because they are fully equipped to deal with those little, big, medium emotions, whatever you want to call them in the classroom. The children are well behaved. They feel listened to. And I really like the ethos of that emotional coaching module. It's based on 4 sentences, and it's teaching children to, when they are going into the classroom, literally keep those 4 things in the mind. And I've learned quite a lot, and they're very simple. I see you, I hear you, I feel you, I understand you. End of. Simple, but so powerful. And we are missing that here. We do the teacher training, teachers are coming in, and we look at different generations now. And there's no shame, no blame, no nothing. But the generation that's coming into teaching now, they definitely need more work on the interactions with the children or handling their emotions, because they themselves are coming out of that generation where there were quite a lot of issues. They have seen war, they have seen change in social media, they have seen change in technology, they have seen so many other things going alongside them, COVID and pre-COVID, post-COVID. It's a lot. And I feel there is a gap. And very soon I'm going to be writing to our Secretary of Education to look at that, because it's such a simple tool to give that tool to your teachers. So when they're coming in, they are regulated. They are emotionally available adults in your environment. So they can provide that emotionally stable environment for the children to thrive in.
I love that. And I love that example of, I see you, I hear you, I feel you, I understand you. I wonder when you're working, if you're maybe saying you have this experience of having some staff coming in where it feels like this is a gap maybe somewhere in the teacher training, and you have maybe a staff member who's really great at the singing along with the children, and they really understand physical development, and they know how to handle storytelling in a wonderful way, but you're like, I really see those interactions you have with the child when it comes to the emotional intelligence that is something you struggle with. What are some of the kind of basics or fundamentals that you would go through in a mentoring session with a member of staff where you feel like their emotional work with the children is something that needs to be improved?
Really interesting question, and something that we have started within our organization, calling it the Teachers Hub, and especially for early years educators. Because let's just be honest, they're not the highly qualified individuals, and some of them, and it's not being looked at it properly. Yes, there are researchers from Education Endowment Foundation, and they are emphasizing the role of having the qualified teachers coming in and supporting the children. Coming back to your question, Matt, I believe that we reflected on our processes and we made it a part of our induction. And induction, again, not pinning it down to 6 months or 3 months, we have made our induction as an ongoing process. It's comes with experience, and then it comes with challenges. Like whenever they face a challenge, and whenever we do the reflective practice of the teachers in the room, we come back, we sit with them, and again we have taken out that culture of you did it and that was wrong, and that you pick on the skills that they have, you polish them, and you give them more. And when you give them more, it looks like, whether that be a training, whether that be assigning a mentor to them who can actually give them that safe space to be honest. Because again, if I want an adult to deliver those kind of session, or improve on their interaction, so they can gauge, and I see you, I feel you, I hear you, I understand you. And it all starts with one thing. When a teacher comes in or they are sharing that, supervisions, they're termly, like, I'm not going to go in there. So let's start with every day. So we do the check-ins. So again, it takes only 5 to 10 minutes. Quality interaction with educators, when we are talking about quality interactions with children. It all starts with one thing: be present in that moment. Leave everything. When you are with the children, if you want to, I see you, I feel you, I hear you, I understand you. If you want to tick all those boxes, you need to be present. And when I mean present, you actually not physically, you need to be present from your head to toe, from your brain, your mind. Everything needs to be in that moment. If a child is saying, I am sad, you don't need to then say, everything's going to be fine, everything's going to be okay, don't be sad. You're not present, because the child is trying to tell you something. And again, one of the cringe along the way that I have from my side, it's not going anywhere. It's actually hearing that, and I have picked up from the practice as well, and we are all guilty of that. So, for example, again, going back to the educators training and the vocabulary and the interactions, it's not only about sitting with the child. When I talk about interactions, people think it's about a teacher and a child sitting together and talking about, what's the color? What did you do? Oh, did you make a perfect A for apple? Oh, yeah, it's a B for ball. That's not interaction. Interaction is, when we're talking about sustained shared thinking, it's about two-way process. You say it, I am hearing it, I am saying it, or I am listening. So it's active listening. You hear it,
Yeah.
I repeat it. And one of the things that I always say, and I've learned it over the course of my research and over the course of my degrees and my training, my learning, it's always repeat the sentence where the child has left their sentence, like left you with.
Yeah.
So if a
I
child is
like
saying,
that.
it's very powerful. You like simple thing, and we think it's so hard. It's such complicated topic. It's actually very simple and cost effective, because it does not cost anything. When we are looking at, literally, when we are talking about budgets and this and that, it does not cost anything. So an example, if a child has come in and said to a practitioner, or to me personally, Miss Naz, my brother hurt me, and that was an ouchie. And then the powerful way of gauging in, and instead of saying, did he hurt you? Oh, it must be hard. Let's just say, Matt, did you say I hear you. I have heard you saying your brother hurt you, and it hurt you. It was an ouchie. show me where does it hurt. And then you're engaging in, the child is showing you, must be really hard. And then you're leaving, instead of naming the emotions for them, you're leaving it for the child to say, it was hard, but it made me sad. It made you sad. And then you're literally having that emotional face for them present in that moment. Yeah, it made me sad. And then I cried. Oh, you cried. You don't need to add anything else. And literally this simple say, I cried. And then mommy gave me a hug and I felt better. But then it hurt again in the night. Or it hurt again in the night. How did that hug feel when mommy hugged you? How did it feel? I felt happy. Feel happy? Brilliant. Good. And what can we do now to let that pain go away? No, I'm fine. I am fine. I need to go. I can have a hug when I feel it. Brilliant. You do not need to lead the way for them. You need to let them come to you with how they're feeling and validating those feelings in that moment. And literally, if a child has said, Johnny has hit me, I hear you. Johnny has hit you? Yes, Johnny has hit me. Oh, Johnny has hit you. And then, and literally, I challenge everyone to experience that instead of saying, go to Johnny and give them a hug. And that's again a cringe for me. Go to Johnny, share, take turns, give each other a hug. Johnny, did you hurt John? Literally, let's assume another name, Matt and Johnny. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm not known to punch other children much, but it does happen sometimes.
So Johnny, go to Matt. Matt, you need to share. No sharing. Okay, I'm going to take that away. Go and find something else to play with. Or Johnny, go to Matt. Matt, you have given it. Okay, now give each other a hug and go away and play. You have not resolved anything. You have caused more problem. Because as soon as Johnny will get a chance, he will go to Matt and he will take revenge.
Such a good example of like what we talked about earlier of having higher expectations of children than we have of themselves. Like go and hug that person who just assaulted you is not something we generally expect of our adult population.
Absolutely not.
It reminds me as well of Kerry Murphy, our last podcast guest, also posted on Instagram fairly recently about this way that we sort of can be a bit guilty of kind of packing children's emotions away like that. And the example she was talking about was reflecting on calm corners, and if children get upset and we just send them off to a calm corner, go and look at the glitter bottle, off you go, because we're not really being present in that emotion with them, and we think we're doing the right thing and it's regulation,
giving them a chance to calm down.
Exactly. And but is that the right thing if we're just sort of actually managing our own discomfort because the child's upset? And I think that also comes back to what you were saying about, oh, it's okay, you're fine, is that kind of more us as educators?
We want to fix it rather than...
we're more focused on being like, stop crying, it's okay, rather than hearing, as you're saying, I understand you, I'm hearing that you're hurt, you're upset. And there's so much work to do there, I think, as you alluded to, in terms of supporting educators themselves to kind of recognise these things. And yeah, obviously it's horrible when a child gets upset. If you're in the early years, it's because you love children. You don't want children to be crying and sad, for whatever reason. But it's getting comfortable with that as an educator in order to allow children to be comfortable with it. I think there's a real kind of leap there.
And normalizing naming, if you have to name, and normalizing naming authentic emotions. Not everything is sad. And that's what I was trying to say. Like my cringe is when you hear everything is sad. You made your friend sad. I am sad. And we are then burdening the child with our emotion. You have made me sad.
Oh, that behavior made me sad. Yeah. Oh, crumbs.
And
yeah.
normalize saying it. Your friend is cross. Your friend is upset. Your friend is angry. And going back to your comment, Julia, about the calm corners, I mean, that's the biggest, I would say the biggest kind of tick the box for inspections, that we have got the corner. And actually, and I'm not saying all, but from my own experience, because I do consultancy with others as well, and it has come up again and again. It's about, well, we have a calm corner, we have got all the spices, we do this and that, we do yoga, we do this, but then we are really struggling with behavior management in the classroom. And it all starts, yes, you have a corner, yes, you have color monsters, which I call them colorful monsters because of the use that they have, that the children are gauged into the colors, nobody knows the meaning behind it. So they have got the color monsters, they have got the sparkling cushions, they have got the lights and fairy lights and dim lights and LED lights, all sorts going on. But where is the human interaction? Where is a person there for co-regulation so that they can take them out and the child can regulate themselves? And when I talk about co-regulation, it's so important for the parents, for educators, all of us to learn. Co-regulation is very different to dependency. And you need to know where to stop so that the child can take over. And I relate it back to EYFS for better understanding for educators. We have heard the terms child initiated, child led, adult initiated, adult led. So if you look at it, co-regulation, and if it can sit with anyone, it's adult initiated and then child led. That's as simple as co-regulation to self-regulation. Simple term. An adult will initiate it, will not lead it. A child will lead it. And co-regulation is all about addressing the routines. It's all about forming the boundaries. It's all about respecting those boundaries. And earlier, Julia, when you was talking about from the parents' perspective, the parents needs to be comfortable as well by knowing, like, that's my child boundary. When I need to stop, because then I'm going to cross the boundary as a parent and I'm going to take control instead of redirecting the emotions. I'm going to take control of your emotions. And that's very powerful. I would just let the parents just literally, we all have boundaries. Just because they're our children doesn't mean that we own them. Or like everybody respect those boundaries and you'll see a reaction to that. Like you'll see a positive reaction. And when I come back to saying, normalize saying like authentic emotions, it takes you away from toxic positivity. That's a norm now in the setting. Everything is so positive, and it sounds more like oxymoron, but it's not. Like, it's not everything is positive. Normalize it. That's fine. Because if we are having those negative, hard, strong emotions, perfectly okay, perfectly fine. You're a human. You're not a robot. We'll come out of it. You have got the strategies, you have got the adult, but for that, you need to have emotionally available adults who have got the techniques to regulate ourselves. And an example of that is my own children. There are times when there are pressures of work and you have come in, they are not aware of that during the day, but at the end of the day they're waiting for me because we have this no family rule that we're going to have dinner together because that's the time when we are going to interact with each other, listen to each other, respect each other, and they're waiting for me. And there are times when I have stepped in and like during the exam time, both of them are going, but mama, my revision, and mama this and mama this and mama this, and I'm just going, well, just leave me alone. I'm not feeling well. Can you not see I'm not like in this, and I can't do this right now, and give me the. Instead of that, I now have realized that before I'm stepping into it with that baggage, I have come out of work, I've done that journey, then I have left everything in home, and literally all I have to say to my children is, if I can just have 15 minutes and I will come back to you. Just need some space for 15 minutes. And that's where you do what works for you.
And you're teaching them something important during that time. I'm so impressed with your research, Julia. As without prompting, Naz has gone through toxic positivity. We talked about you're okay. You prepared all these questions.
Yeah, well,
and Naz
I didn't need to. Yeah,
Naz
already. I haven't looked at my cards once.
It all links together because that was part of the research that I carried out. And going back to toxic positivity, Matt, I think one of the things that we as adults do wrong with each other as well is when a person is in an element of sharing their emotions or their experiences, which has caused them to have those emotions, we instantly jump into taking an advisory role and advising them do this, and this work, and this doesn't work. But actually, you're not listening to me. You're not hearing what I'm saying. Yes, my emotions can be, I'm feeling frustrated and I'm feeling angry because of this and that, but my experiences are very different. So when a person comes to me and tells me after a hard day or something that's hard personally and comes and tell me, everything's going to be fine. There is a silver lining in the cloud, and everything happens for a reason. I'm sorry, we need to stop, because none of us are advisors. None of us can give each other advice on that. All you need to do is go to that person, literally say, I hear you, I feel you, end of. I do not understand you because your experiences are very different. Similarly with children, when I have heard parents bringing children into the nursery and saying, well, you just need to smile now. Smile, give mommy a hug. I need to go. Just smile, be happy. And so on and so forth. And I think that's where we need to work on. And again, I'm going back again and again, and that's a journey for me. It's a gap. There is a gap that we need to address, and very quickly, because there is a link of now toxic positivity and increase in mental health in children. And if anyone wants to read into it, AXA, it's not an acronym, it's actually a program of mental health. They did there, and it's actually quite scary. And it's about lack of emotional regulation, lack of understanding or awareness of your own emotions. And AXA, when they did their research in 2017, and that's pre-COVID time, the 2 to 4 year old, and I'm not even talking about the teenagers, I'm talking about the 2 to 4 year old, the mental ill health and the mental health issues in 2 to 4 year old were 5.5%. Then the next study that they did was in 2020, and it's based on 12 countries in Europe, including UK, and UK is always on the top. And there is a reason why. Again, as I said, we are not emotionally available adults. 2020, that percent for 2 to 4 year old went to 7.2%.
Wow.
And then the 2024 research, that has gone to 9%. And I'm only talking about 2 to 4 year old. And again, their research is very highly linked with the early education. If we are not able to provide children the safe spaces to grow, develop, and thrive in, and I'm talking about the relational interactions where the child feels safe, which is different to key person, which I'm going to touch on. It's that shows a close link that if we are not addressing these issues now, then the children, and I'm talking about now teenager, it's going even higher to 22% of teenagers in 2024 experience instability in their social interactions, having depression, anxiety, social withdrawal, eating disorders. And that's rooting from your early childhood traumas, early childhood experiences. And traumas are not related only to war and bigger events. Traumas is my interaction with an adult, which has left sour taste and bitterness in myself. That is also a trauma that needs addressing. So there is these are the foundations of why we need to act fast. We need to work on simple things. We talk about PSED, and we need to work on that. It's one of the primary areas. Where is it? With the recent, and another example of educators not emotionally available is from Dr. Amy Furby, and she talks about that the educators, especially in early childhood educators, they are burnt out. They are in an element of being perfect, and then there is an element of attainment gaps and 4+ assessments coming now.
Getting ready for school.
I would say it's appalling at the minute. And if you're not going to take action right now, these numbers are not going to come down. So COVID happened, post-COVID, we have been blaming COVID for years. No. Let's come out now. It's us. We need to work on it.
What can we do?
No, but like the thing is, I was projecting those feelings outwardly, right? Because the turmoil was actually with... What?
Julia, we're filming. What are you doing on the phone?
I'm talking to family support. I needed some one-on-one support. They have like a less than 2-hour response time, 95% satisfaction rate. You don't even have to ring them, you can just talk to them on the live chat function. You can email them, you can go to a help centre.
They are there to help our customers. The reason why they're so quick is because they're not on the phone to you the whole time talking about your problems.
This type of negativity is exactly why I need to be on the phone to them. Sorry, Kevin, where was I? The thing was, what I was experiencing was just a reflection of the thing.
I'm really interested, one of the things that you talked about earlier that I want to pick up on was this sort of, maybe sometimes too often naming an emotion as sad when it's actually a more complex emotion than that. I think the kind of thing that I know I've thought about a lot as I'm getting ready for kind of raising my own child is also like this kind of idea that we also allow boys in particular to be angry. And that's it. That's all they're allowed to see. And it's amazing how many of my adult friends I see this behavior exhibited in, right? Where it's sort of, you're actually embarrassed, but you're exhibiting it as angry because that's the only one you're allowed to have. Or you might be sad and you're exhibiting it as angry and so on. I wonder if you have noticed any in this kind of naming emotions and helping children to understand emotions, whether you think there's maybe some emotions that we sort of support children in understanding or that we confuse more often than others.
Absolutely, ma'am. And I think, again, it's very stereotypical as well. So we have had experiences of children coming in or practitioners or educators. And I'm not saying that everything is intentional. I'm just saying that we have acquired it. We have never questioned why. We have just gone on and did it what we were asked. And we have heard saying, you're a big boy now. Or if a child particularly we have seen and we believe in the core of EYFS is individual, unique child. So every child will be different. But I've heard it more and more, I would say in preschool when they are in 3 to 5. So that the emotions to particular, the classification of emotions with a particular group of children starts kicking in, and it's very natural. So either will that be, as I said, oh, you're a big boy now. Boys don't cry. It's okay.
Oh dear.
Boys do rough and tumble play. Come on. So it's brushing those things off. Or particularly if the girls are coming in and saying, well, like, Julia's not playing with me, and Julia said no, and Julia said I'm not a princess, and over there it's not the vocabulary, it's the emotion that they are feeling. And then I've heard going back to, like, the comment going back to the children saying, well, nobody's a princess, you're all friends, like go away and play over there. Or particularly when and it's a really very recent one which broke my heart actually when the boys were playing in the kitchen corner, and then there was a conflict about whether the faded brown wooden stuff was a sausage or whether that was a rotten banana. And then the children came with that to the teacher, and then they were saying, but Matt said it's a banana, but it's not a banana, it's a sausage. And I'm getting angry because Matt is not listening to me. And then the teacher turned around and said, well, we don't get angry. And then turning around to Matt and saying, well, did that make you sad, Matt? So it's not having those, like naming those authentic emotions, but labeling those with a specific group, as I'm mentioning. Like, if the boys get hurt out in the forest school play, and then they are coming back and saying, it's fine, we're going to sterilize you. Come on, you're a big boy now. Don't cry. That's fine. Boys don't cry. And that's sad. That's actually sad. That makes me furious.
What you were just saying there about like the gender divide between how we allow certain emotions. The other thing I wanted to touch on was I saw a video recently of it was Australian preschoolers, and they were given jelly which had salt in it, a group of boys and a group of girls, and they were asked to taste it in front of the person who'd said they'd made it. The boys all said, it doesn't taste very good, I don't like this, I'm not going to eat it. The girls all said, oh, it's really nice, and continued to eat the salty, disgusting jelly, because already at that preschool age, the girls had been socialised to put their discomfort before upsetting someone else.
Wow.
And I just thought, it's one of the, obviously silence doesn't translate well in a podcast, but I was silenced by it because I just thought, gosh, already, what can we do as educators to prevent that from happening, to stop our youngest children from already at that age worrying about someone's feelings first before their discomfort?
And again, as I said, the starting point is the educators themselves. It's about embedding that in their training, whether that be the training, whether that be their qualification part. And it goes back to being like, we use that word empathy quite a lot, but empathy is not about knowing and understanding and being aware of others' emotions. It's about your own. Understand, control, direct your emotions as well. Because if you are self-aware, where we talk about, Julia, if you are self-aware, only then you can reach that stage of helping others. You can reach that stage of self-regulation. And we all think that we have read something in the past and actually how we can put that in use. Maslow's hierarchy of need, yes, it's many millions years old, but a simple example of yours based on that. If the children have got that warmth, the love, the food, like a safety, then you can reach that self-actualization state. What is that self-actualization state? In normal terms, that's your self-awareness. And we are moving further away from that self-awareness state because we are being imposed constantly of how now there is a turnaround, how the others feel, how it's going to look like with the others, how it's going to sit with the others. Again, I was saying we put our emotional baggage on children. The children, another example, personal example quickly of my two children. So my younger one is a people pleaser. Outside in the classroom, he will be doing everything to the point where he's pleasing the teacher. It's all about how the teacher feels, because he then feels like, okay, that's the way I'm going to be accepted because the teacher feels happy and the teacher is okay with me. But when he comes home, that
Yeah.
that's the point where it's all like a volcano. All emotions are coming out. All his dysregulation is coming out because he has put so much effort in pleasing others by gauging into what others feel, forgetting about his own. And we are working on that, saying, you matter too in a positive way. But then you need to understand how you are feeling.
And having those pressure release valves throughout the day.
Exactly. But then it's also a good thing that the children are doing that at home. And again, an advice to the parents, do not put children off. If they're having big emotions, be happy because they feel safe. That's why they are doing it. If they're not going to feel safe at home, they're going to be hiding those emotions from you. And that's where all these anxiety, depression, stress, and chronic stress will come in. Please, let's give them that safe space to do that. And again, with going back to our own learning, please, my only plea to the senior leadership in early years is spend time and effort into your workforce. Because if you want that behavior management in the classrooms to be top notch, if you want children to be regulated, if you want the routines to be happening and no kind of disorganization in your classrooms, the simple thing is be present, engage with the children. It's a two-way process. Come out of those standard question of what's the color of the car, oh, it's the car is yellow or the apple is red. Have meaningful interactions. Come out of those norms and question the things around you, like I was questioning about the turn taking and sharing. Golden rule is another thing that we need to question, and I'm questioning now. Jenny Mosley did it in 2005, that big yellow golden rules chart. It's everywhere in the classrooms. And then we need to question our environment. If we have got a prepared environment for the children, is that print rich? Is that print full? If it's print rich, has it a meaning for the child? Because having those golden rules just in the morning, 15 minutes, tick the box, sharing is caring, walking feet, kind hands, gentle words. I can tell you one thing, go and sit with a preschooler and ask them what does kind hand means. That's all they know. That's what it means. It means nothing else when they are playing, nothing. It absolutely holds zero meaning to them. When they're in a conflict, they're going to hit. As soon as the teacher is going to look at them, the child is going to look at you and say, kind hand, yeah, kind hand, but I'm going to do it again because I am not regulated enough and I haven't been given that space. And again, question all of those things and give that space to your educators to do that, because then again, we blame the culture. We say like, okay, if we are giving that space, somebody's coming to you. Matt asked me that question. How do we train our teachers? By not being defensive, by saying,
Yeah.
hands up, I got that wrong when I started.
I don't get everything right.
You come to me, let's do it together. And it's a
Amazing.
learning. Let's not be
Love
defensive
that.
because we all have got flaws in our culture, within our organization, in homes as well. And let's be okay with that. Let's not get defensive about it, because somewhere in the world, someone is doing something right. And let's have those networking going on. Let's learn from each other. And again, when we talk about now, play, it's recently in last 6 months, it seems like a buzzword. And again, play is nothing new. 1807, the term play came in, like nothing is
Wow.
new, but it's coming up because now it's a trend. Everyone's writing a book, everyone's writing an article about play, just because, yes, in society we want to fit in, we want to know, like, we have done something about the play. But with all of that buzz on social media, my only question always is, who is reading those books? The educators are not reading that book. They don't have the time. So if we talk about the burnout, I have questioned that with my educators who are working from 7:30 to 7, 5 days a week. When they go on holiday, they don't even want to look at anything. So I asked that question. I said, have you read this book?
Who has the time to?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, there is no time for reading those books. But what we can do is actually put all of that in practical terms, whether that be your induction, whether that be your policy, whether that be your training. And that level 2, level 3 training for early educators in UK needs a massive work, needs to be relooked at how the modules have been designed, because honestly, there are so many gaps. But of course, I always believe in, yes, if I can start that process, many will join in. And it's nothing new again. But again, we start a process, then something else comes in, like we started off with play. Now AI has taken over, so the play is shifting away and everyone starts talking about AI. But what's the core? We have forgotten about the core. Let's go back to what it matters. What it matters, why it matters. Why it matters is children. What matters is children. And nobody talks about it.
It's a wonderful way to finish, Naz, and I think definitely on that subject of what senior leaders can do more and more, because it is a huge amount is on them rather than on the educators.
Absolutely.
Where can people find more? Where, if they really liked all the thoughts you
if they
shared
wanna
today,
hear
where can
more
they
from
follow
you.
you? Is there any way you want people to point them towards in particular?
So I am literally in a habit of having like really nice looking website for myself. Well, I don't believe in website. I believe in networking more, and I believe in interactions with people. I will be reaching out, but I am readily available on LinkedIn right now. But I will be launching my YouTube channel where it's all about helping parents mostly, and then the
Ooh.
educators as well, because I feel the cycle will never be completed if we are just doing the training with the educators, but the parents are left behind. We need to meet their expectations. And as a parent as well, we all complain about, like, in early years, the parents have complained about this because they're not well informed. And as soon as the
Amazing.
parents will come in, I think that's where we are going to complete the cycle. That's where we are going to see the difference.
Amazing. Well, definitely we can link to your LinkedIn in the
yeah.
description so people can follow. And I'm excited to watch
I'm
those
looking
YouTube
forward to the
videos
YouTube.
already.
Yeah, definitely.
Naz, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll speak again very soon.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Matt and Julia. It's absolute pleasure from my end as well. Thank you.
Pretty good, wasn't it?
It was. Oh,
You couldn't believe an hour had gone by.
I never can, We
No.
get to talk to these absolutely amazing people, and I just want to keep going. I think we're going to have to start doing 24-hour streams or something.
I think that's just the way. Maybe we'd go to Twitch. That's what the kids are doing, aren't they? Just streaming
Oh,
early
we're
years
I
chats.
can't believe we're streamers. We're streamers now.
Nice.
Watch this space.
That's nice. Poor Mickle. He's going to have to
Yeah,
sit
oh
in that
God, yeah,
awful
poor
chair.
Mickle. I don't
And
know-
these, well, maybe it's not going to work.
I don't know if we've got the budget
Might
for
have
this.
to get big chairs.
The
the
big
stream?
chair,
The big chair
stream
podcast?
cast. No,
Doesn't work,
it's
does
a
it?
confusing concept.
What was the main thing you took away from the chat, Julia? What were you?
Do you know what? I think it was the reflection. The main thing that came through that Naz seemed to be saying was that, we need to look at the things that we're doing and really think about whether the children are the focus of it, whether the children are at the heart. Are we really present? Are we really reflecting on what we're doing, especially about the golden rules? I thought that was really
Golden Rules
interesting.
was cool. I liked the thing about sharing. I thought it was really interesting. And actually, as the listeners know, soon to be a dad myself, I was really interested in this point that you actually made, which is like, where do we expect children to do things that we as adults don't expect of ourselves? I think that's so interesting because I think we do that all the time.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, nice. Cheers. Should we do our cheers to the early
Yeah,
years?
speaking of cheers,
Oh.
so we have 2 this week. Very exciting.
Woohoo! 2. We've been off, I guess. That's nice.
That was lovely. So the first one is from Becky Cook. She is the executive head teacher of Waterton Preschools in West Yorkshire, and she says, I would love to send a shout out and a massive thank you to every member of the team who go above and beyond for our children. They really are an amazing and talented bunch.
Love that. Cheers to the early years.
Do you know what? I love that, and I love that it was just a general thank you.
They're
and
just
well
great.
done. Yeah, I love that. I think we can have more of those, so send them in. The second one is from Ruth Hearn. She says, we at Twinney Nursery in Greenwich have just been awarded our Eco Schools Green Flag with distinction. She says she's so proud of the children in the team for all their hard work. Brilliant.
That is pretty cool. Leading the way with sustainability in the early years. I love that.
Absolutely. So cheers to the early years to them.
Fantastic. And what else do we need to do? Well, I guess we need to tell people where to find us.
They'll have forgotten, won't they, in our gap. We're going to remind them. What's the email address again?
It is tinychairpod@family.co.uk. That's tinychairpod@family.co.uk. Send us your questions, guest suggestions, ideas for stupid bits, nice feedback. Don't send us bad feedback. We don't want that, do we? Nope.
Or if you just want to chat.
Yeah,
I love a chat.
Always down for that. And if you do love the pod, please share it with someone else who you think will love it too. That really helps.
Like and subscribe, all of those bits.
Fantastic.
Yeah, do that.
And we'll see you next time.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.